Welcome back to the Out of Bounds podcast. I'm Gavin Williams alongside
Charlie Caleri.
And here we go. College football regular season and the conference championships all done.
Yep, last Saturday they wrapped up. We had some very good conference championship games, which impacted the college football playoff more than we've ever seen before.
Yeah, it's very controversial right now. We have no idea where the committee is standing anymore. It's getting crazy, so why not report it today?
Why not report it today? We're going to this episode will be out before, obviously, the college football playoff, but we're recording this the week after the rankings come out. So
we've had 1 week for it to settle in.
Yep.
We have a big New Year's Eve matchup.
Big New Year's Day this year. New Year's Day. It's New Year's Day.
It's New Year's Day.
It's New Year's Day. It's at 5 o'clock and 8:15 on New Year's Day.
Really?
Yep. Michigan plays at 5.
That's weird.
Yep. So excited for that. So we did our prediction episode at the beginning of the season, and we both had USC in our championship.
I'm pretty sure I had them winning. I think I did.
I think I had them losing to Michigan in the championship. So looking back on that, didn't totally go how we thought. We were very USC heavy and very into the Caleb Williams hype, which didn't really die down, but at the same time, they didn't play as well as they thought. So our predictions from the beginning of the season are
trash.
Not good. Not good. But we said that at the beginning.
We did.
We said they weren't going to be that
football,
good.
You know?
Yeah, anything could happen.
Anything could happen. And everything did really happen. So as the 1 seed, Charlie's Michigan Wolverines.
Yeah.
How do you feel about that really quick?
I mean, honestly, this is the best Michigan team I've watched. The best part about this team, I think different from other teams, is that from years past, they're more of a confident group. You saw they went into Penn State, played really well. At home against Ohio State, they were confident before that game. You go into the Big Ten championship, you're playing Iowa, you shut them out. I don't care how bad their offense is, but you shut them out. They don't score a single point. I'm sorry, they don't get in the field goal range? Kick one field goal? Can't do it. So this dominant defense has been great all year. Corum McCarthy, Colston Loveland, Donovan Edwards, Roman Wilson, they're the guys leading the offense behind that offensive line that's been stellar the whole year. So we're just looking through all the adversity that's going on this year with Harbaugh and everything. I think this team just has a confidence about them, and they're ready to play in the playoffs, but more than past years.
Yeah, really hyped for Michigan to be in again.
And they have experience now.
They do.
Donovan Edwards, he's going to be playing in his 3rd playoff game, so it's big.
Yeah, so we have all of that.
And Corum, I think, too.
Corum, yes.
And McCarthy, I think, too. A lot of these
McCarthy
guys.
played last
A lot of
year,
these guys. So
a lot of these guys have some bad
blood. They have
blood.
experience, yeah.
That's especially what J.J. McCarthy you mentioned was they have a bad taste in their mouth. They're ready to serve it to the next guy. So Michigan number 1 seed. Number 2, Washington, as deserved, beat Oregon twice, and the second time was in the conference championship for the Pac-12. Michael Penix, man, came out of nowhere this season. Absolutely a beast. The transfer from Indiana. Did you know that one?
Yeah, I did.
That's
because
a weird.
I remember him. I remember him playing Michigan,
Yeah.
and then I remember specifically one play against Penn State, dove to the goal line.
Yep.
And I'm not sure if he fumbled it or he got in, but there was like a longer view. It literally took 15 minutes, but that's how I knew who Michael Penix Jr. was.
Yeah. So that guy really changed the program around at Washington, and this is going to be their second time in for the playoff. The first time wasn't a great time.
They got smoked
against Alabama, right?
Yep.
But now they're not the 4 seed; they're the 2 seed, and they're ready to mix things up against number 3 Texas. And Texas had a crazy season, only losing 1 game to Oklahoma, the Red River rivalry.
Yep.
We were at our friend Art's house for that one.
Very fun.
I was very happy that Texas lost that one because I didn't really want them being in, but they still found their way in. Absolutely smacked Oklahoma State to get to where they are now. After that one loss, they were a different team and spanked everybody all year, earned their way to a Big 12 championship, and now the year before they joined the SEC, they're going to be in the playoff, and what might be one of the – no, sorry. Next year's going to be a 12 team. So
it is.
If it was still a 4 team, I don't know if they'd ever make it back unless they won the SEC. But now, 12 team next year, but we're on the 4 team.
So, I mean, you mentioned with the Big 12 championship, they went in there, absolutely rolled over Oklahoma State. I just want to mention Quinn Ewers, man. I mean, he shows up in big games. And that's going to be a big focal point for Texas in this game is his play. I mean, he said it at the beginning of his reign at Texas. We're back. Took them about 5 years to get back, but
3 years.
3 years, sorry. But
First
I
year
think they're back now.
Yeah.
I think they're back. But I guess we'll see if they're actually back on New Year's Day.
Yeah, I completely agree. The team that Texas beat was only one loss, Alabama, who beat Georgia in the SEC championship, leaving an undefeated conference champion, Florida State, out, and leaving the reigning two-time champ, Georgia, out. So, with all of that, we're going to be talking a little bit about the rankings. Do we think they're fair? So, first off, number 1, Michigan. I think it's pretty fair. Michigan rolled through their whole schedule. Beating Ohio State was their biggest win of the year. Rolled over Penn State. Wasn't even a game until the fourth quarter.
Yeah.
It was a game until the fourth quarter, then they stretched out.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, even that game against – I mean, I think there's the big thing with Michigan this year. I mean, people keep saying we haven't really played a lot of people, and that's whatever. I mean, that's a fair point, but I always keep saying this. I mean, you can only play your schedule, and next year our schedule is really tough. But going in and winning in the dominating fashion that we expected every week, and it happened every week, I mean, that's the thing that I think separates this team from other teams. I mean, some games, teams will lay an egg. They'll lose by a few points. I mean, you see this with all the other teams in the playoff right now, too. I'm not saying Michigan didn't do that, but it wasn't as much of a point compared to other teams.
Yeah, I mean, I completely agree. But a team who Stephen A. Smith said that should have been the 1 seed was Washington.
Very fair point. Very fair point. I mean, they're undefeated as well. And, I mean, they have 2 wins over Oregon, which is top 10 team in the country.
I think they're
probably a
number 8
top
right
5
now.
team in the country.
I think they're
honestly.
top 5, but they're number 8 right now.
Yeah, and I mean, Oregon was 1 win away from being in maybe
playoff.
this exact spot right now
They
at
would
the
have been
2
in the
seed.
playoff.
So,
probably
who knows, though? Who knows? I mean,
that would have really shaken things up.
But, I mean, Washington playing in a tough Pac-12 this year.
Yeah, it was a really jam-packed Pac-12 between, I mean, you have Washington, you have Oregon, you have USC who's still there, Arizona was good this year. Oregon State was good this year. They were number 16, I think. Even UCLA was ranked at one point. Colorado was ranked at one point early in the season.
Mm-hmm. I mean, and even programs like Utah's still there.
Utah was ranked.
Utah's still there.
Year.
I mean, the Pac-12 was exceptional this year.
It's sad that it's going to be the end of it.
Yeah, and it's going to be the end. And that Pac-12 game was kind of emotional to watch, man. Last Friday, as we're recording this, we watched that game, and I mean, some tears were shed. Very sad to see the Pac-12 go out. Rest in peace, Pac-12.
Yeah, rest in peace.
Rest in peace.
Stephen A. Smith was mentioning that Washington could have been easily the number 1 seed because their coach wasn't suspended for 5 games out of the year, or 6 games, was it?
6 games. It was the first 3 and the last 3.
So he says a team that doesn't have a suspended coach deserves the 1 seed. What do you think about that?
I mean, I don't know. I feel like it's more of a case for Michigan to be 1, playing without their head coach for half of the season. I mean, I feel like that's more of a case for Michigan to be the 1 seed. So I think Stephen is wrong on that.
The opposing side,
I think he's wrong. I think he's wrong in the sense of that point, not the sense of saying that Washington can't be number 1. You know, so based on that reasoning.
Yeah, we have 2 undefeated teams, and those were the 2. Now, number 3 was Texas. As we were mentioning, big win over Alabama, week 2 of the season, sending Jalen Milroe to the bench.
I mean, it ended up being more of an important win than we would have ever realized at that point in the season. We thought Texas, it was just good win for them. They'll finish as 15. Maybe they'll get into a New Year's 6 if they get lucky, but it turns out that they're in the playoff now. And Bama, I mean, we looked at them. We were like, this is not the same Bama team. They're done. They're going to lose 3 games this year. They're going to finish around maybe 18 behind Texas, somewhere in the rankings. But guess what? They find themselves at 4 now. Their only loss being to Texas.
Yeah.
So that's the reason why they are behind Texas right now.
Yeah, and which is deservedly so.
Yeah, totally.
One man to talk about when it comes to Alabama is Jalen Milroe. After the Texas game, got benched, and they beat USF, who was the next man up on their schedule. Only beat them 17-3, but had a game-sealing drive in there. They had
it was 10-3 for a lot of the game.
Yeah, it was
a lot of the game.
Tyler Buchner,
yes,
was one of the quarterbacks in that game. Reports came out, by the way, huge for the lacrosse community. He's transferring out of Alabama, and he's in the transfer portal as a lacrosse commit.
Wow.
He was a top lacrosse commit in high school.
Wow.
Decided to go the football route. And reports are also coming out that he's going back to Notre Dame, but for lacrosse. And
This is very interesting here because, I mean, you never hear of high-level NCAA quarterbacks especially just switching their sport totally. Not even transferring just to go to a different school to play QB. This dude was done with football. Hopefully the lacrosse works out
He
for
said
him,
football is not out of his question or out of his option, but I did see a report last night from CBS Sports, which I don't know if it's very credible because it's not ESPN, because they did post about the Rodgers trade before the trade even happened. But
Interesting.
they said that he's going back to Notre Dame to play lacrosse. And I just want to point this out because you might not know this, but Notre Dame's coming off a national championship.
I think I did know that.
Very,
Yeah.
very big school. The Kavanaugh brothers. I'm going to get into my little lacrosse thing right now.
Here we go.
So the Kavanaugh brothers, amazing at lacrosse. One guy tore his hamstring, and the trainers had to put on tape to tape him a ham. Like, they taped him
In
a
the
hammy.
championship?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Taped him a ham.
He's a dog.
I'm not even joking. Like, didn't have a hamstring, just taped him up one.
Oh.
Crazy.
Oh, wow.
And they went on to win the championship that year. So he's joining if he does join Notre Dame lacrosse, huge
Joining an elite squad.
elite squad.
So,
And then carrying on with that game, Ty Simpson got in, got the job done. But Alabama, the big story is beating Georgia. I mean, if you beat Georgia, you got to be in the playoff. They're a reigning two-time champ. They were number one almost all year long. Ohio State had a jump, was like 2 games at one point. But if you beat number one, I think you deserve to be in because the odd man out.
and let me just mention this right now as we're talking about Georgia.
Yeah.
They were the number 6 team they ended up as. They're number 1 the whole year, end up at 6. I mean, that's kind of crazy too, but I think it is a fair ranking.
Very fair.
For where they're at.
Very fair.
I just want to point this out. I researched this stat last night. It was 728 days in between losses for Georgia. And both of those losses were against Alabama in the SEC championship game. So
And then you also
very
had
impressive.
their
And
last
then
regular
their
season
last
loss.
regular season loss was 1,120 days ago
Wow.
against number 8 Florida. This is as I'm recording this, obviously.
Yep.
So all those dates are probably maybe skewed a little bit, but around the general time frame. I mean, unreal from Georgia, just the dominance that they've had. It doesn't get credited enough, I don't think. Obviously, with the 2 national championships, it does, but I think the media doesn't realize how impressive that really is.
Yeah, Kirby Smart really turned around that program to be the dogs of the nation.
Yeah, because, I mean, after they made the playoff in 2017 or 2018.
When they lost to Bama.
Yeah, when they lost to Bama in the championship, everybody was saying, is this going to be like another maybe Oklahoma or Notre Dame?
Oklahoma used to make
Washington,
it almost every year.
Were you getting maybe like 1 or 2 times? They're like that team
Oklahoma had like a stretch for like 3 years in a row
with Baker.
with Baker
Yeah.
and then Kyler,
Yes.
and then they had Jalen Hurts.
Jalen Hurts. Yeah, but maybe not Oklahoma, but maybe Notre Dame, Washington, those teams getting in like one time. Everybody thought it was going to be Georgia. Kirby Smart totally turned that program around, and now they're one of the best in
The nation.
the nation, and they look to be a dynasty.
They really
look
do.
to be a dynasty.
And Jalen Milroe, coming back to him a little bit, after he was benched, he had to start rest of the year, beat some good rivalry games like the one in Auburn, the Iron Bowl.
That was
4th and 31.
iconic play once again for that rivalry. 4th and 31, 4th and goal from the 31, unreal.
Yeah.
Pulling that out.
And then they go on to shock Georgia in a game that nobody had Alabama even being in the SEC championship this year. So that's huge for them to be in. But the man out, which is leaving all of the controversy, is Florida State.
Florida State. We're getting political now too. Heard like the governor is trying to fund something
DeSantis.
he's trying to fund something to get them in the playoff.
No,
I don't know really.
he's trying to sue the committee.
Oh, is he?
Trying to sue
I'm not
the
a big
committee.
politics guy, so I don't really know. But
I just saw it on the ESPN. I'm not a politics
that's
guy
crazy.
either.
That's crazy. But anyway, I just want to point this out before we get into it. I'm just gonna state these facts, and you guys can take this however you want it. Okay? We all have opinions on this, but I just want to point out these stats right here. These are actual stats. So this is at the time of the games. Alabama's key wins were against number 15 Ole Miss, number 17 Tennessee, number 14 LSU, number 1 Georgia, and they beat Chattanooga too. That was a big one. Alabama's average scoring margin for their games was plus 13.4. So they won their games by an average of 13.4 points. In Florida State here, they beat number 5 LSU, number 16 Duke, Clemson. That was a big game for them. Number 14 Louisville, and they also beat Northern Alabama. That was big for them. And their average scoring margin was plus 19.1. So they had 19.1 average win margin right there. So just want to point those out. Gavin, what are your thoughts on this 4-5 controversy?
Okay, a couple key points here. I 100% am on the Bama train here, 0% on the Florida State train. Here's why. Florida State had a strength of schedule ranked as 55th in the whole country. Alabama was ranked as 5th overall in the whole country. The ACC is a joke to football when it comes to a Power 5 conference. I don't even see them as a Power 5 conference anymore. I see it to where D1 athletes say they're a Power 5 to say they're a Power 5. Because if anything, I feel like I've seen more out of the Big 12, out of the Pac-12, especially this year, and obviously the Big 10 SEC. I feel like after Clemson's run was over and when Pitt won the ACC championship game, it became the joke of the Power 5. That if you can't have one Power 5 school that...
Not even considered. Yeah. Not even considered the last few years. So I mean, totally understand what you're saying.
So in my eyes, I don't even really see the ACC as a Power 5 anymore. And that comes with strength of schedule. I mean, yes, they can only control their own schedule, but maybe this is a sign that Florida State needs to get out of the ACC. Because I don't really see the ACC getting any better. I mean, they're a good basketball conference.
I mean, let's see if that's an interesting conversation right there. Would Florida State be a good fit in the SEC? Maybe they move over with another ACC team over there. Who knows?
Yeah,
maybe like a team, not saying they would, but like Georgia Tech. Like one of those teams.
Or like a Clemson or something.
Yeah, like one of those teams. I mean, somebody who has like rivalries and ties to the SEC, who could just, like Texas and Oklahoma did, you know, like, I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, it's a tough one, too, because, I mean, it's really hard to leave Florida State out if they had Jordan Travis. And sadly enough, even though it's so sad to say, it's nothing but the truth when the committee said that they're not as good of a football team anymore without him. I mean, they play Louisville, who was ranked 16th.
14th. Iowa was 16.
Okay, so they beat a 14th ranked Louisville, who people were seeing Louisville as a good team, had a bad loss. I think it was I can't remember the school right now, but they had a bad loss. And they beat, if they were a top 4 team in the country, their third string quarterback would have had more than 55 yards thrown.
That's very true.
And
it's very true.
It's really hard to put together because everybody's like, oh, Alabama almost lost to Auburn. That's true. Very true. It is a rivalry game. Every rivalry game has the potential to be close, just like how Florida State and Florida played, and that was awfully close too. And for them to be as close with Florida, who's not ranked, for them to only put up 55 yards passing against Louisville, it's just not good enough.
The only difference, I'm not like saying you're wrong. I'm saying the only difference I think with that is the fact that Alabama did have their QB and Florida State didn't, and they were both close. But other than that, I agree with you.
Yeah, that's a good point to have. Also good points to have is they were both away in those games. So both teams were playing in very hostile environments. So that's going to be hard by itself. And it's really hard to have a Power 5 champion kept out with an undefeated record. But at the end of the day, you have to look at what Power 5 conference are they a part of. If it was a Georgia who was 13-0 at the end of the year, it's impossible to leave them out. If it's Washington with the most, I think this is the most vigorous Pac-12 I think I've ever seen in my life.
100%. Definitely in the playoff era.
Yes.
Definitely in the playoff era.
Yeah. A little disclaimer in the playoff era. Can't leave them out. And this is the most. I mean, Big Ten. You can never leave out a Big Ten. They're never down.
Never.
Because they always have either Ohio State or Michigan. And next year they're getting Washington, Oregon. So that's still not going to be a place where you can leave any team out of the Big Ten. But with like the ACC, for example, bringing in SMU, Cal, and Stanford. Yeah, they're teams, but it just shows you that 3 teams that just had to leave a conference just because they had to are going to land up in the ACC because that's like the lowest level that they could go. Not even the Big 12 would take them.
No, I mean, Cal, Stanford, I'm assuming they probably tried to get into the Big 12 and they got denied. But they had to move because their conference is going away, obviously. But, I mean, SMU must have been stoked to get in the ACC. I mean, that's a great pull for them. Great for SMU.
Yeah, great for them. Not shooting them down. But I'm just saying ACC is the biggest joke of a conference when it comes to football. Not basketball, not baseball, not lacrosse. Just strictly football is the biggest joke of a conference because there's only one team every year. And that team was Clemson for a while. That team's Florida State for a while. It's either one of those 2 schools, and maybe you'll have a little dark horse in there. But other than that, the ACC is just like, oh, cool. NC State, you're ranked 16. Like, cool.
Yeah, they just strive for
to
mediocrity.
Be ranked. Yeah,
mediocrity.
They strive to be ranked.
Yeah,
in the ACC, unless you're Florida State or Clemson.
Sorry.
Yeah, and with that being said, if you beat Georgia, you should be in the playoff. And Alabama, the complete turnaround, they literally went through the bumps and bruises, and they made it over the humps, and they should be in the playoff. And I'm glad that the committee did that right. And all heads, everybody's weapons are going to be pointing at my head, and I get that because they're 13-0. Check the strength schedule. Ladies and gentlemen, off to Charles.
Now, I mean, so just for the sake of the argument, I will say I agree with that Alabama is one of the 4 best teams in the country, but I don't think they should have gotten in. Okay?
Who should have gotten in?
Florida State.
But my thing is like...
I'll tell you what. I'm about to tell you why.
Yeah.
So
go.
My main reasoning is, and we've talked about this a lot recently, especially with the refs, but we're switching now to committees. Consistency. I mean, I just don't understand how you have a team in the top 4 the whole year.
Yeah, we did. I agree with this point already, yeah.
I don't know how you have a team in the top 4 for the whole year.
Yeah,
they finish undefeated. They don't even have a loss.
I think the only week that they weren't in the top 4 was week 1. And that was because it was AP. Every week of the college
and then they
beat
LSU.
Ranking.
They beat number 5 LSU, and they got moved in the top 4.
Yeah.
Other than that, even with the college football, it's not even like when Ohio State got moved to number 1 when they switched to the college football playoff committee. Florida State was in at number 4 with the committee, and then they were up. They were up, they were 3, and then they got moved back to 4. I think they got moved back up to 3 again, and now they're out. I just don't understand how the committee can sit there, put them in before the conference championship game, even after Travis was hurt too, because it's not even a Travis issue now, because they could have taken him out right after that North Alabama game, right after Travis got hurt, and it would have been like, okay, that's fine, right?
Or even the week after.
That's totally fine. But you don't take them out before they make that final decision, and then you decide to take them out. I think that's just wrong. I understand where Florida State's coming from. I understand the frustration.
Oh, I do too, 100%.
But at the same time, Gavin, your points were great. I mean, they don't play in the best conference. Alabama had a better strength of schedule, better wins probably. But at the same time, consistency is a big factor here. And I don't think just because a player got hurt, which I know this is a rule now for the committee, but
yeah, it is
I just don't. I don't understand.
Be, but it is.
I don't understand how one player getting hurt can screw up a whole team from making it to something that they strive for months. I mean, it's not just comes down to that one decision day. It goes back all the way to July for these teams. I mean, these guys are putting in the work.
It goes until the last game.
And then they win their conference championship. They're at the 4 seed. They're thinking, we're probably good, right? Nope. SEC champion comes in. I totally understand having the SEC champion in. I totally do. I'm just saying they could have definitely worked it out a little bit better maybe. I'm not saying you leave Texas out, but I'm saying that Texas beating Alabama saved Alabama's season in a way.
It did.
Saved Alabama's
really
season in a way. So Alabama's got to be somewhat thankful for that.
And, I mean, yeah, with all this going on, it's it honestly is just sad. But I feel like the number one thing everybody really has to realize is that this is the last year of it.
No, I fully understand.
You know what
I
I'm saying?
understand maybe they took a risk because this is the last year.
I think so too.
And I think, honestly, at this point of the season, these are the top 4 teams.
Yeah.
I don't think you can question that. And maybe the order's a little bit wrong at this point. Maybe you would.
Yeah.
I think maybe you would put Bama over Texas.
Yeah, I
but
would too.
in the logistical way, you can't put Texas over Bama. But also in the logistical way, you can't put Florida State behind Texas and Alabama.
Yeah.
So that's the controversy there, the consistency that I'm talking about. And I just think that the committee needs to maybe figure it out for next year. I know it's getting expanded, but at least make sure these problems don't happen again.
Ever again. Especially, I feel like, you know what? You want to know why I feel like they left out Florida State? I think it was because of the national championship last year. I genuinely think that this is TCU's fault.
It definitely could be. I mean, definitely seeing that TCU was in a weaker conference. Because the Big 12
Big 12
was not
last year was
Big
really
12 last
weak.
year was weak.
Yeah.
So that's
And they lost
mostly
their
why
conference.
TCU got in it. And
TCU
they
lost their
lost the
conference.
conference championship
Yeah.
game, but they still got in as the 3 seed. And then you have an undefeated team in maybe arguably a worse conference this year, but very comparable. Very comparable.
very.
And they go undefeated and beat a ranked team in the championship game, and you still don't have them in.
Well, Kansas State was also ranked in that.
I'm just saying that they won, though.
Yeah.
They actually won. So that's
The fact that they won.
that's just the consistency factor right there. That's the thing I'm most upset about. I'm fine. There was a few people that were saying that I was just upset because Michigan had to play Bama instead of Florida State. But I think this is just more of a logistical issue.
It is logistical. It's not.
I'm fine playing Bama.
Yeah.
I think I'll spoil it right now. I think Michigan's going to win. But at the end of the day, it's not about just playing your matchup and, I don't want to say having the better team in because that's what it is about. But, Florida State was in the whole year and they got taken out.
That was a bunch of
It
BS.
could have been done a better way.
Could have
been done a few weeks earlier to save that fan base, save that team, and save everybody from the expectations that they were going to be in the playoff.
Yeah. I completely agree. When you have the final score of a national championship game, 65-7, that's where they're going to look in the mirror and they're
Ruins
like,
a lot.
Yeah.
Ruins a
That's
lot.
when they looked in the mirror and they're like, hey, we did this wrong. Let's not do it again next year. And unfortunately, that happened to Florida State. But with all that being said, it is still the college football playoff.
It is true. It's going to be a great playoff.
It is going to be.
So let's predict it right now. So number 1 versus number 4, Michigan versus Alabama. I already said who I got. I got Michigan for all the reasons I already said. Dominant defense, and we've shown that we can beat some of the top teams in the country. So
I'm going Bama.
I figured that.
I am going Bama. And not only because I don't like Michigan, because I don't want to be biased here, but for the fact that they beat Georgia, number 1.
It's definitely fair. I mean,
Yeah.
they could do it back-to-back times.
And I feel like they could.
The spread is only -2 for Michigan, so
Yep.
Michigan's only favored by 2 points. So this is a very toss-up kind
I
of
feel
game.
like the matchup here is perfect.
It
I
is.
feel like
It really is.
they really found a way
in the Rose Bowl.
in the
It's
Rose
the
Bowl.
perfect
like,
setting. Like everything's
It's
perfect.
Nick Saban. It's Jim Harbaugh. It's in
It's
the
McCarthy,
Rose Bowl.
Milroe,
And
2 historic colleges going
Yeah.
at it. I mean,
I don't think that you could have found a better matchup to do at the Rose Bowl.
what else would you rather want?
And honestly, I don't even mind if Michigan wins. I just want the best team to win, and whoever's the better team that day will win.
I
And-
agree, and I think it's great that they obviously didn't set it up like this because they really didn't have a choice. But the last matchups in the 4-team playoff being 2 really historic franchise or not organizations, programs, universities,
Yep.
going against 2 more fun up and coming
Yes.
universities in Washington and Texas. So I mean, who do you think's going to win that game, Gavin?
All right, yeah. So Bama's the first game. Second game, I got Washington.
So you got Bama versus Washington in your championship. Why do you got
championship.
Washington against Texas?
So something about Michael Penix Jr. overcoming all odds. I don't even think I would have had Washington in my top 10 before this season. I really don't think so. How a man can change a program in 1 year is something that struck me right
That's
away.
what Jake Browning tried to do. Didn't work out.
So we have a dominant offense. I mean, they put up 30 against Oregon both times. And that's a top top 5 team in the country. They're top 8 right now, but beating a team twice is hard enough to do. You have all the same schemes. You have all the film from the other team. You have it is the most even matchup the second time you come around. And from them to win 34 or 31, but that last touchdown was kind of like a garbage time touchdown, a little bit. Not really, but almost. They still won. And I feel like that win puts a bigger picture in my head than Texas beating a decent Oklahoma State team.
Very fair. Very fair.
With Michael Penix Jr., I would like to see Texas win. I like their coach a lot, Sarinsky, and I like Quinn Ewers. I like that Texas team a lot, so I would like to see them win. And I would like to see either one. I am happy who wins this matchup. I just have Washington because of their offensive powwow.
Yeah, so with my prediction here, we have completely different national championships. I have the Texas Longhorns beating the Washington Huskies in this game. And honestly, I think it comes down to I want to see Washington beat another top team who's not Oregon. And
That's very true.
I know we've
Very
seen
true.
it. I know what you're going to say. They played ranked teams and they beat them.
It
But
wasn't a
we've
top
seen
4
that
team.
most of those teams have been frauds. USC, Oregon State, Arizona's had one good year. I mean, I want to see more out of it to make it more legit. I'm not saying Washington at all has had like a cupcake schedule or anything, but I'm just saying that Texas, the win that they had against Oklahoma was dominant in a way, and the win that they just had against Oklahoma State was also just dominant in itself. And Quinn Ewers is playing his best ball right now.
He is. He's
I would
playing
not
amazing.
say I would not say that Michael Penix is playing his best ball right now. I'm not gonna lie. I really don't think so. I think he was playing better in the middle of the season. Around
he was too,
around the
actually.
time when they played that first Oregon game.
Yeah.
I think he struggled the last few weeks. Not struggled in the sense of still being a Heisman candidate, but still, I think he struggled compared to other weeks, and I don't think he's looked as good. So I think Quinn Ewers is going to rise to the challenge, as he always does in big games, and I think Texas is going to pull this one out.
I just want to point this out, too, with Texas. They've won the big games even without Quinn Ewers when he was out, and I feel like that could be a great point to choose Texas as well, but I'm not going to. I got Bama. I got Washington.
I got Michigan, Texas, so we got a little bit of a completely different matchups here.
Yeah.
Who do you got in your matchup? I'm interested.
For the national champion.
Yeah, national championship.
My national champion will be the Crimson Tide of Alabama. I think after they win this championship right here, they will shut everybody up about the Florida State controversy because they deserved it. And this is going to prove that they deserved it. We have Nick Saban, and I'm not going to lie, I can't remember the name of the Washington coach, but I know he's only a third-year coach.
DeBoer?
Yep.
Yep.
He's only a third-year coach. This is just veterans versus rookies at this point. And I don't want to say this because this was a completely different Washington team. But, I mean, the last time these two teams matched up in the playoff wasn't great. I think it's going to be a much better game. Final score of this one, for a little sneak peek, got 31-21 Bama because their defense is still really good. I think they hold Washington to a 3-score game. And I think those 3 are touchdowns, but close at half. Then Bama just pulls away. I got Nick Saban raising yet another college football playoff trophy.
I mean, it's definitely possible. I like how you mentioned in there that, if Bama wins, obviously no controversy there with Florida State anymore. It's all Bama. But I will say
I feel like even if they beat Michigan, everybody will shut up.
Yes, I agree with that too. Definitely beating number 1 back-to-back weeks.
Yeah.
You can't dispute that. But with that being said, I think even with Alabama potentially, or with them playing Michigan, if they get crushed by Michigan somehow,
everybody will be ferocious.
Yeah, and not to say, and if it was Florida State, it'd probably be worse if Bama somehow gets blown out. So let's just keep all that to consideration. But for my national championship here, I have Michigan versus Texas. And you guys can probably guess where I'm going here. I'm going Michigan.
Going blue.
Win the national championship. I have not wavered since day one. I picked Michigan because I said at the beginning of the season, I think this is actually the team that can do it. I mean, if they got back to the playoffs, they'll have the experience, coaches and players, and they'll figure out how to win this time. And I presume that they would be the 1 seed. They ended up being the 1 seed. I mean, it's got to just finish itself now. The story is written. He's got to publish it. It's got to publish it. Simple as that. I think the final score for this game, 30-20. I think it'll be a close game throughout, but Michigan's ability to just dominate in the second half has been the key for them all year. They played a lot of close first half games, even with like against Bowling Green. They played a decently close first half game for a Michigan game, and second half they really ran away with it. So kind of looking for hopefully that again if they get into a situation against Texas or even Bama. But hopefully we're lifting that national championship trophy on December 8th. January 8th. Sorry, January 8th. January 8th.
Yeah.
That'd be nice.
I mean,
That'd be very
here
nice.
we go, guys.
Here we
have our
go.
predictions.
End of the season.
We got everything rolling.
I'm excited.
I am very excited. And it's a long break for these 4 teams. They have about a 3-week break.
It is, but they got a lot of time to prepare. I think they're all taking a week
off.
And then, just like the Super Bowl, you got 2 weeks to prepare for your opponent, and then you got 1 to prepare for the other team.
Yeah.
Kind of
I don't know.
weird, but
Yeah.
who knows? Could help.
Could help, could not.
Gets everybody healthy.
It does.
Gets everybody healthy. So
I do like that aspect.
we'll see a
of it.
fully healthy Milroe, hopefully, fully healthy Ewers, fully healthy everybody.
Yeah.
So
Let's
I'm
do
excited,
this.
man. I'm excited. Let's do it. You're right. Hopefully Michigan comes out with it, but I guess we'll see. If you guys liked this episode, let us know on our Instagram.
At Out of Bounds Podcast with a dot in between every single word.
Yes, there is. Thank you guys. Leave some criticism for us. We always like criticism and hearing what you guys have to say in general. So even if it's not a criticism, maybe it's just saying hi.
Yeah.
Saying hi.
We'll say hi back. We
We'll
don't
say hi
bite.
back.
We don't bite.
Maybe. Nah, probably not. Thank you guys. Have a great day.
Have a day.